Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. As Lee mentioned, I have five kids, four boys, and followed by a daughter. So she's the youngest. I was first introduced to PAREF 3 years ago when we were looking for a preschool for my daughter. My husband and I had gone through, I think, two or three other preschools for my boys, and what we noticed was that we were very disappointed with the quality, especially after a few years, right? So, in fact, my older boys went to a different preschool because we noticed that the quality of the preschools were deteriorating. For the older boys, they went to a small school, but after a few years, it just wasn't the same anymore. So, for the two younger boys, we sent them to a preschool that's connected to a big school. And Even with that, we were surprised because for my youngest son, so the fourth boy, before he could enter big boy school, we had to hire a tutor during the summer because he still couldn't read. So he was going to go into grade one in a big boy school and he couldn't read after going to a preschool that is connected to a big school. So sorry, I'll name names just so it's clear because I might not be able to, to express the idea or the thought well, no. So my two younger boys went to the preschool of Miriam in preparation for Ateneo, and we noticed that we when we first looked at that school for the two older boys, we weren't really too sold. So we sent them to a small school, but after a few years, we sent the two younger ones to Miriam, and then by the second son, who went there, again he couldn't read. We were so shocked, and so we really wanted something different for our daughter. And we looked around. We looked at big schools, small schools, all around. Obviously for parents, or before COVID, proximity was a big factor for us. So we looked around, within the village, outside the village, neighboring villages, etc. Then we heard about PAREF North Rim. So we scheduled a visit and met with Lee. And she was kind enough to give us a tour, and show us around. And that was when I was introduced to the PAREF system. So again, this was 3 years ago. My daughter is now in pre-kinder. What we noticed, I think they walk the talk. When everything that I joined a little late, but everything that Lee mentioned, Teacher Christelle, Teacher Sophia, they walk the talk. What they say that they're going to do, and what they say their goals are, they really do it. We noticed immediately that it's a family atmosphere. You feel at home. Not just the students, but even the parents. You feel comfortable, you feel at home. You really feel assured, or we feel assured, that our children are well taken care of. We were lucky because my daughter has had the same teacher for the past 3 years. Once in a while, Teacher Sophia would be there, but it's been Teacher Christelle. So, there's really the continuity. There's really that, we can compare from when she was in a toddler and nursery to now that she's in pre-kinder. And we get all these reports that Lee mentioned earlier, that was mentioned earlier about, the communication. They give us progress reports after the end of each term, which is, of course, very helpful. Um, Again, like I said, we tend to shy away from the big preschools, or because we don't want none of us want our child to be one among many, to be lost in the crowd, right? Here, there's really a lot of dedication, and we notice here it's a lean and mean staff. It's a very lean team in PAREF North Rim, and they're all very, very dedicated. Everyone, from the teachers, the teacher aide, admin, even the custodian. There's everyone works together, and they're all very dedicated. They're all very approachable. Everybody's very flexible. We bombard them. There's a Viber group per level. There's a Viber group for parents, and any question really, or any concern that we have, we can communicate that, and we're sure that we at least would be listened to and considered, right? So they're very considered in that as well. One thing we notice about PAREF in general is that, again, the family is involved, right? This is what Lee mentioned as the home school collaboration. Um, it's not, and it's really important because an individual eventually, they end up, their I guess their character and the way they think is also affected by what happens at home. So their thrust is really to involve the family, to make sure that we're involved in their education as well. Not heavily, right, but just enough. And they also, you can feel that there is a genuine concern, not just for the um, well-being of the child, but the well-being of the family as well. During the last typhoon, we got many questions about, are you okay? We live in Cainta, which is a flood-prone area, right? Are you okay? Are you safe? Do you need anything? I mean, there's really genuine concern from the school, for not just the academics of the child, but the child's whole development. Um, Gosh, I could go on and on. I'll cut to the chase. This school year, 2020, because of our experience with PAREF North Rim, the 2 years that my daughter was there, we pulled all 4 boys out of the big school in Ateneo, and the big school called Ateneo, and moved them to a PAREF school. This was before COVID even. So, and I guess it was all a blessing as well, because now that COVID's here, we're so glad that we're in a system that really that has a small ratio, that really shows concern, and we've seen it consistent. No, so you put your child in a preschool. We see it now in the big school as well with the boys. What they talk about their dedication with homeschool collaboration, getting the family involved. In fact, my husband was supposed to join me here in this testimony. He was, I think, later. He was a later convert. I was more convinced to move the boys before he was. So it's good that he's not here listening to me. But the reason he's not here is because he and the boys are in a youth club activity in Sun Valley, where the school, the Northfield school, and this is not, and my boys were introduced to this youth club because of the PAREF school. A classmate invited one son, and then we found out, it's good for this age, etc., etc. And so, again, the family ultimately gets involved somehow, which is again fantastic. So they're there, they're going. There's a trek, there's a picnic, they're doing sports, and it's boys' day out. So that's why they're not here. So again, they walk the talk. I guess my only regret is that we didn't decide to move the kids earlier, or we didn't put them in earlier. We didn't know. Again, you always think that the bigger names with a bigger campus is better. But our experience, at least for our family, after we joined North Rim, PAREF North Rim, was that that's not necessarily true. In fact, we regret that we didn't do this earlier for our boys. So that's it. I think that's all I'll share.